I've been getting blowers in for repair lately, and along with that I got 2 handheld blowers that were throwaways. I thought I'd clean them up, take them one at a time, see what's wrong with them, and see if we can get them running. Let's do it! Now I don't typically do this, but since these are throwaways and so filthy dirty and in rough shape, I'm going to go ahead and pressure wash them, clean them up so I can see what I'm doing. You can't even see that carburetor buried in there, all the grease and dirt. I'll be careful to stay away from the muffler and the carburetor, but I'll probably take the carburetors off anyways and clean them up. Well, that's better. Let's go ahead and take this Echo, see if we can get her running. Now, since I don't know anything about this, I'm going to start with the simplest things first and work my way through it. First, I want to check the fuel. And looking in the tank, there is some fuel in there. And there's a filter on the end of the line. I've got lines coming out here. This one's a little crusty. The other one's okay. The supply line is okay. The return line's a little crusty. The purge bulb is starting to dry out, but it's not cracked or anything. I'm going to take the air filter cover off. But it seems okay. Choke works. Throttle works. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and try to start it. There's not much gas in there, but just see what happens. See if it'll run at all, or try. See if we can pump any gas through the carburetor. There's a little tiny gas in there. It's hard to see, but I can see it from the side over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it, see what it does. Now, before we go any further, I want to do a real quick compression test. If you have a compression tester, you just remove the spark plug wire, take the spark plug out, screw the tester in, hold your throttle, and pull the pull cord. And keep pulling it until the needle on the tester tops out. It won't go any higher. On a 2-cycle engine like this, if you're between 125 and 130 pounds per square inch PSI, then this engine should run fine. If you're around 100, or especially if you're less, it might not even start, and it'll run poorly. I'm not going to use a compression tester for this. What I do is just pull the cord and see how much resistance I feel. Another way some people test for compression is hold the equipment by the pull cord. And if it'll hold the piece of equipment without falling, that tells you you've got decent compression. This doesn't quite hold it. Now there's a third way you can test. Remove the spark plug wire. Take your spark plug out. And hold your thumb or a finger over the spark plug hole. Pull the pull cord, and if you've got decent compression, air should pass by your finger. You shouldn't be able to hold that in there. I'm pulling this, and it's not pushing my finger off the hole. So the compression on this is a little questionable, but I'm going to go ahead and proceed and see if I can get her running. Switch on. Choke on. Choke off. Oh! Oh my! Doesn't want to throttle up, but Got half choke now. Oh, a little backfire. Choke off. I don't know how old this gas is, but the next thing I'm going to do is drain the gas tank and put fresh fuel in there. Might take a little bit to get fresh fuel through there. On this carburetor, the fuel mixture adjustment screws right in here. All right, I got my little screwdriver here. This is just an eyeglass screwdriver. That plastic cap must be on there. I'll show you how to get that off. A lot of people don't know that little hidden screws in there. I actually did a video on that. I got my propane tank all set up. I can't even see that it's lit, but you'll see this will get glowing red. See that little red there? And I'm watching the gas tank. I'm not close to it. Now I'll stick that in there, straight in. You should feel it sink down if there's a plastic plug in there. And you just want to hold it till it cools down. Hold it real still. I give it about 30 seconds. That should be enough. And now I turn it carefully and gently pull out while I'm turning. Oh! There she is. There's the cap. You be careful, this could be hot still. It's warm. So I'm going to pull that off. There we go. Now there's just a flathead screw in there, and I'm going to back it off counterclockwise, maybe a quarter turn. I want to feel it lock in down there. There, I can feel it locked in, and I'm going to open it up a quarter turn. There we go. Quarter turn counterclockwise. Now let's try to start it. I guess we don't need the choke from past experience. Make sure the switch is on. I'll go half choke, see if that helps. No choke. Try to get that old gas or whatever was in there out. That primer bulb's working well. Try a little throttle. Same thing. I turned it out a quarter turn. It seems like it's not even doing as well as it was before, so I'm going to turn it back in. Quarter turn, and then a quarter in. That's not pretty, is it? Okay, now for me, to clean these carburetors just takes 20 minutes. So I'm going to pull the carburetor off, but I also want to check, after I clean the carburetor, if I still have trouble, then I'm going to check the exhaust screen. It's called a spark arrestor. Usually there's a screen in here, and those can clog up. But this had some nasty fuel in, so my thought is, since there was nasty fuel and gook in the tank, it might be in the carburetor. And we know we've got spark, otherwise it wouldn't have started like that. So I'm not concerned about spark. We'll check for spark quick. Take the plug out, and we got to touch the plug to metal, so this is all plastic around here. So I just set my socket in there, put the plug back in, and we'll pull the recoil, the starter cord. Oh yeah, we got good spark. I got a Torx bit here to take this carburetor off. It's just these two screws. And we'll pop those out. Hang on to that gasket. Set that aside. Whew, we're still dirty in here. We got another one here. Boy, this is an odd setup here, the way they got this. To disconnect the throttle, we'll just pull this up through here. That releases that. And then it's just the fuel lines. I try to turn these back and forth to break them loose. This one's all dried out here. There, we got it. There, we got it. Let's take it over the workbench, clean it real quick. You can see that little hole there. Well, it's all grooved in there. But how that fits right like that. You want to make sure you line that little hole there up with that. Now, typically with carburetors, your biggest culprit's going to be a dried out diaphragm, which is right under here, that controls the needle, or that on the intake where the fuel comes into the carburetor, a lot of times that filter screen can get clogged. So we'll go ahead and pull this off, take a look at it, see what we've got, clean it up. I try not to tear these when I take them apart. There we go. It's flexible. You got to be real careful. Look for tears in these, or they'll be real stiff. And that's why I said you want to go along the edge. You don't want to cut that in there. This should really be changed. There we go. We got her. There's your needle valve under here. It's flexible. I don't see any holes or cracks in it. And you can take it outside, hold it up in the sun, or I hold it up to a light. And that'll show you if there's any cracks or whatever in it. But I think I can use this. There's your other adjustment screw right there. Right down in there. There's probably a plastic cap in there too that needs to come out. This one here would be your low side, and this one here would be your high side adjustment screw. Pull the primer bulb off, and this screw comes out here. There we go. There's that screen. Here's our other diaphragm. I'll pull this apart real quick since we're right here. A little sticky in there. And you can see, you got to be very careful with these. See that? You don't want to lose that. This actually goes on this pin right here. But I want to clean this out first. There we go. Sometimes I've seen these, they look clean, but you look at the back side when you get it off and it's all crusty. This one looks real good. It's clear right through. So I can put that back in. And the lipped side goes up and it just presses in. Just a compression fit in there. Good. That's about it. We can put it back together. You can see this side's concave and the nub sticks out on that side. That's what that spring head fits into on that nub right there. So you want to make sure to orient that right. I like to double check that spring in there then after that. Make sure it's seated in there right. Looks good. Tighten that down. Not real tight, just snug. Now this little roller, you don't want to lose that. It allows this to spin freely. Whew, I got it. Yeah, doggy. And I just want to make sure this is open here. See where that comes out? I can see right through there now. Line up our screw holes. Beautiful. Nice and smooth. There we go. You want to check that, make sure there's no tears or cracks in any of these. Looks good. And then I like to check and make sure this is all open. But that primer bulb was working well, wasn't it? So I don't think we have a problem here. It's open. Looks good. I guess before we put that on, check and see if there's a cap on that one too. Hee-haw! That was big. Finally got it out. Just a little plastic plug. Oh, that one's stuck good. Usually they do it, yeah, sometimes you even have to take a knife and peel them off. There, I got it. All right, now we can adjust the high side and the low side. I always like to start these little screws in aluminum by turning them counterclockwise till I hear a click. And then screw them in. That way you don't cross-thread it. There we go. You don't have to go crazy tightening that down. Not the best bulb, but she's working. All right, looking good. Just like that. Okay, let's go throw it back on and see if it will run. Now I want to point out a real common problem with these Echoes and the Steels is the fuel vent. They're designed a little different. Look how dirty that one is. I'm going to pop this off. What happens is, there, I cleaned it off a little bit on the top, but that doesn't mean it's open and free. What happens is, this builds pressure in the tank to feed the carburetor. It pulls air in, but it won't let air out. And these things clog up. Anyways, you can pop these tops off. They just snap on. Or you can get a new one, but if you don't have a new one and your machine's not running, and what this will do, if it's not pulling air, it'll choke the machine out. It could run just the way we were running with a problem like that. So I definitely need to clean that or change that. Let's take it over the workbench. Take a look at it. Here it is. They give you a little hose clamp with it. But you can pop these tops off and clean this. Now I'm going to go ahead and blow through it, and I shouldn't be able to blow through it, and then I'm going to suck on it, and I should be able to suck on it. I can't blow on it, and I can suck on it. And on the stills, they've got a bunch of little holes, like pinholes in the top, and it's just a vent that snaps into the top of the tank. And those little pinholes can clog up, especially if it's greasy like this. And then the machine will start, it'll run, and then it'll cough out. Here's some new ones I have. And if you just get the vent, it's like $6. Or I ordered this for an I don't know, an echo blower, I guess. And it came with all the fuel lines and a grommet and everything. Let me see if I can pop one of these off. There we go. I'll just change it out. Yeah, this one, I can suck air through it a lot easier than the other one. That one's a lot more restricted. There, I got it off. And this fuel line's, or this vent line's fine. There. Very good. Nice, easy, free flow. I don't know if this is necessary to have on here, but I'll throw it back on. Wouldn't surprise me at all if this was a problem. You saw how dirty it was. And it's always good to clean the carburetor. But you can pop these tops off. Now I didn't squeeze with this pliers. I just held it as like a loop over this and to pop the top off. And there you go. And there's the little one-way valve in there. And you can just pop that out, clean it up. See that? That's actually a little filter. You can clean that. You can take a little piece of wire or whatever, stick it in here, and you can pull this rubber vent out, and you can see it comes to a point there, and if you squeeze it, you can open it, and otherwise it's shut. And that's what keeps you from being able to push air this way, but it'll suck air this way. So you can take that out, clean it, make sure that rubber vent's not all dried out. Push that back in, it just snaps in. Clean this little foam sponge with soapy water. Put that back in, put your cap on, you can go ahead and use it again. Anyways, might help somebody if you don't have the parts around like I do. Let's go put it on. Before we go too much further, let's go ahead and check the fuel filter. These hemostats come in handy so much working on small equipment like this. Now these fuel filters you can also clean if you're in the middle of a project and don't have a new filter. And what I do is first take some carb spray and just spray it through here. And then you can pop this clip off. There's a little screen in there, a little filter. Then I take compressed air. Slide that back in place. And you got a working fuel filter. Now, of course, it's best to go ahead and change it. I've got a new one here. But that'll get you by in a pinch. Alrighty, we'll slide this back in the tank. There we go. This is pushing fuel, this is pulling fuel. So we'll hook this up. Alright. Now we'll check and make sure that our throttle's working right. Oh yeah. And we'll go ahead and throw the new filter on. And drop that in the tank. Beautiful. We'll prime it. There, we're pulling. And now, the big test. So our low side adjustment's here, and our high side adjustment is right in here. Switch on. Choke on. Maybe we don't need the choke. I was messing around with this before. I might need to adjust this low side. All right, real quick, I want to check the spark arrestor. Something's not right in here. See if the exhaust is all clogged up. There's our screen. It doesn't look bad. I'd really like to take a look at that piston. Uh-oh. I don't know if you can see that. There's a lot of carbon buildup in there. See that? And it looks like some scoring lines on there. Well, we've looked at the piston on the exhaust side. Let's go ahead and look at the piston from the intake side and see how it looks. That's where the carburetor goes. I just took those two mounting screws out. There's our piston. I don't know if you can see that well or not, but she is in rough shape. There's all kinds of vertical lines in here, which means the piston's been scored. I imagine they probably ran some straight gas in here instead of mixed fuel. It doesn't look good, but let's go ahead and move forward, see if we can get it to run. But I'm going to go ahead and check the coil. Make sure that that's not loose. If that's loose, that'd throw the timing off on this, not allowing it to start. Is this machine worth all this? No. But I wanted to get to the bottom of this, so I thought I'd go ahead just for the heck of it. Here's a coil right here. Boy, what a job to get at the coil on this thing. Mercy. I just wanted to check and see if this is loose. And to set the gap on this, you just take a business card, stick it in there, bring your magnets around, and snug that down on there. Tighten those down, pull the card out, and that's our gap. My guess is the person ran regular gas in this, whoever owned this before, burned up that piston and cylinder. Running that good fuel in there, I think, is lubricating the cylinder a little bit, allowing it to run, maybe freeing it up a little bit, but it'll never be right. It'll never be good. This is trash. Well, this wasn't a big success story, but I hope it'll make you successful on your projects. If it was a help in any way, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I look forward to helping you with other projects online.